What's up, everyone, and welcome back. Today, we're going to be working on Lab 6 Sheet 1, which is the first week of SolidWorks. I think, generally speaking, I think AutoCAD is a little bit more difficult to wrap your head around. SolidWorks, I think, is a little bit more user-friendly from the get-go. And with your experience in AutoCAD already, the first 5 labs you've already done, there is some overlap in the overall methodology and manipulation of the program. So obviously, we're going from 2D to 3D, so there's going to be a little bit of a change there. But overall, the two softwares operate relatively similarly in terms of the use of the tools and drawing, at least in 2D. And then we're going to add the 3D component. So let's go ahead and get started. So this is what we're going to be working on, Lab 6 Sheet 1, kind of this Lego type block, except it's a lot bigger than a Lego. I think it's 3 inches by 2.5 inches. So this will give us a nice introduction to a number of the basic tools and how to create a basic 3D shape and hollow it out in SolidWorks. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and close this. And we can pull this up. So this is what we're going to be creating today. So you can get this from the content section under Lab 6. This is Lab 6 Sheet 1 under the assignment. And let's go ahead and get started. So first things first, SolidWorks will open up. You may, I'm not going to reopen it. Let's see here. I think we could just click right. There it is. So this is the window that pops up when you first open SolidWorks. If you've already closed it, you can just come up to File, New, and open a part file from here. Alternatively, over here on the right-hand side, there's this little menu. You can click the Home button and then click Welcome to SolidWorks, and that will bring up that home kind of splash screen that opens up as soon as you first log in. So from here, either go to File, New, and then Part, or you can come in here and just grab a part file. And it'll load for a second, and then it will open up a blank document. So the first thing you want to check always is the unit system. So we're going to be using both IPS, which is inches, pounds, and seconds. And we will also be using MMGS this semester, which is millimeters, grams, and seconds. So IPS is for all part files that you are obviously drawing in inches. And millimeters, MMGS, this is for if you have a part file, and we will have a few of them that are set up in millimeters. So you definitely want to keep an eye on that, because when you enter your dimensions, if you enter 32 for millimeters, but you're in inches, it's going to be a much larger part. So it's not going to be a problem until you go to plot it later. And with that, let's make sure we are in IPS, and then we can kind of look at the interface here. So right off the bat, obviously a little bit different color scheme, at least for sure, is a nice bright space that we can work in. You will likely, when you first open this up, you're going to have something that looks like this. You're going to have the 3 planes, the three-dimensional planes. We've got our front, our top, and our right plane. These can be turned on and off. Usually I don't really like to have them on. I will turn them off, but for now I will keep them on. But to turn them off, you just highlight all 3. So you can select, hold shift, and then click, select the front plane, hold shift, and click the right plane. Alternatively, you can just hold control and click all 3 just like that. And then this little button, this hide button. So it'll pop up. These little menus will pop up automatically when you select something. But if you move too far away, it'll go away. So to get it back, you can just right click and click hide. So that's one way to hide them. I'll show you another way later to change the visibility settings of different items. Now, when you're in one of these planes, and I'll before we actually start drawing, I'll explain a little bit more about these ribbons. But so how we're going to draw on these and how we use these planes is a lot like AutoCAD. So what we could do is click on this front plane. This little menu pops up. We can click Sketch. Alternatively, you can just right click. It brings up a menu with a few more options. Again, we can click Sketch here. Or once you have the plane selected, you can just click on this Sketch button. See, these are little tabs, just like we had in AutoCAD. except things weren't kind of consolidated the same exact way. But this is essentially the ribbon like you had in AutoCAD. And your features are for 3D items. Your sketch is for 2D tools. And then you have different types of modeling. So you have surface modeling, which we'll get to in lab 14, sheet metal, which would be lab 13. We don't really mess with meshes, so we can actually probably turn this off. Let me go tabs, turn off mesh modeling. And then you evaluate. This allows you to do different stress tests, which we aren't going to be using in this class. But you can see there's a lot of different options here, and you have a number of different tabs that you can use to open up different types of tools. So another thing to note that is kind of nice to know, when you right click here, you have the option for tabs and you have the option for toolbars. So these toolbars are going to show up. This is what this is right here. These are toolbars. So I'm going to right click, go to the toolbars. So you can see like this 2D to 3D toolbar is active. That's what that is. You don't really need to have that up. We're not going to really be messing with that. It just is up on, it's just kind of up on mine. But you know, maybe I'll turn it off so you're not getting confused here. But there's all kinds of other toolbars, and there are toolbars that could be tabs also. So don't get confused there. Like if you want, like later when we do the sheet metal lab or the surfaces lab, you're not going to have these by default. So it's going to be something like this. We're going to have surfaces turned off. We're going to have sheet metal turned off. So if you come in here and go to toolbars and turn on, for example, the sheet metal toolbar, it's gonna pull up this here. So you're gonna have all the same options, but it's just, you know, I prefer personally the tabs. I think it's a little easier to work with. To that, boom, tab, sheet metal, and it'll pop up, and then you have all your sheet metal tools. So when I do it in class later in the semester, I will definitely be using the tab version of the menu. So that's all just personal preference stuff. Now, when we come in here, get back to the planes, we can open up a sketch on the front plane. So again, you can just come up here, sketch, click, you know, sketch up here. And if we turn off these other two planes or just hide them, you can see like this is actually essentially just the same thing as our AutoCAD. You know, you can just draw in 2D, grab your line tool, draw around like this. However, you can see as you come to the side here, I'll turn on these other two planes. Now we have this really nice three-dimensional workspace that allows us to manipulate objects and see them in 3D. And really illustrate that, I can show, if we do an extrude, which I will obviously be spending more time discussing, you can take those two-dimensional sketches and create three-dimensional objects inside that 3D space. Go ahead and delete those for now. And we're going to go ahead and delete sketch 1 for now also. So something else that would be good to know before really diving into the software is zooming and panning, manipulating the space. So a lot of times the 3D environment is a little bit to wrap your head around. Some people tend to kind of get it a little bit faster than other people, but that's okay. So to zoom, it's opposite of AutoCAD, and you can change it in options, but we're not going to necessarily do it. I've never really changed it for myself. I just kind of go back and forth. So if you zoom in, it actually zooms you out. Like if you zoom forward on the mouse wheel, it'll zoom out. And if you zoom back on the mouse wheel, it'll zoom in. If you hold the middle mouse wheel and move your mouse around, if you hold the middle mouse wheel and move your mouse around, that will allow you to manipulate the model and rotate it in 3D space. If you hold Control and hold the middle mouse wheel, that allows you to pan around. So remember, in AutoCAD, you held the middle mouse wheel and it allowed you to pan the drawing like this. In SolidWorks, to get the same effect, to keep the model still, you have to hold Control as well. And then if you just want to spin it, you can just hold the middle mouse wheel like that. Double clicking the middle mouse wheel, just like in AutoCAD, will recenter you. So that's good to know. And so right now we have this view that's all kind of distorted here. And it's kind of difficult to tell where we are. So that brings us to the view orientation menu. So you can click up here to bring that up. Alternatively, you can just click the space bar and that'll bring up this cool little menu here. And then you can click, for example, if we want to see the front view, we can just click like that. And that will bring us so that we're looking directly at the front plane. And what that's actually called is normal to. So you'll hear me saying that. If you want to be normal to the front plane or normal to this, like this face here, that'll bring us normal to that. We can go normal to the bottom view, look at it from the bottom. And this says it's the top plane, but it's looking at it from below. So it's the same plane, but we're just looking at it from below. If we look at it from the top, I just click Control-5. It's a hotkey. I'll go over those in a second. We can see the top plane, words are at the top. And if you're ever confused about that, just click the space bar and this view, they call it the view cube, will give you kind of a good idea of where you are. You see that little window pops up and it tells you what plane you're holding on to. That's so if you click this is the back plane that allows you to just kind of quickly jump to the back. So with that also, if you hover over these view orientations, kind of like quick views, you can see, so like the top is Control-5, the bottom is Control-6, front is Control-1, isometric, and actually that won't pop up, but isometric is Control-7, just like that. Remember Lab 5 and the Exam 1, we had an isometric view, or a kind of isometric view. It was like a offset view, and then you had to draft your part from it, your 3-view drawing from it. So that's Control-7, and you'll get the hang of that. You don't have to use them; it's just very optional. Personally, I like it. Once you get into the workflow and you've been using SOLIDWORKS a lot, they tend to be it's kind of second nature. If you want to do like a left view, or I'm sorry, like a right view or a left view, it's Control-3 and 4. Top view is Control-5. Front view, Control-1. Back view, Control-2. So it kind of becomes second nature. But you can write them down if you want. That's what I did when I took this class originally. I just wrote myself some notes as to which, what the hotkeys were, so I could learn them. But over time, that'll start kind of coming to you nice and easy. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to click on the front plane. Then I'm going to click Sketch. Alternatively, come up here, click Sketch, Sketch tab, and we're going to open up a sketch. When I say open up a sketch, that means we're going to put ourselves into a position where we can start drawing. If you're not, quote, inside a sketch, it will not allow you to draw. So we opened up a sketch on the front plane. I'm going to go ahead and highlight the top and right plane and just kind of hide those for now. And it's okay because I drew something in a weird location earlier. Now the plane's it's not showing as centered. If you click on the plane, you can recenter it. But it's really not an issue, because all this is showing us, like, you don't even need to have this visible. You could just have it invisible. We know we're on the front plane. But since we're all new, I'm going to click show just to show, re-emphasize what we're doing here. So we're inside a sketch. You can tell you're inside a sketch because now it says exit sketch instead of sketch. And to get out of that sketch, you have two options. You can click the red X, which is going to disregard anything you've done. It's a disregard changes or discard changes. Or you can click this little this little arrow here, and that saves all your changes to the sketch. However, we didn't do anything, so it just kind of deleted it. So let's go back in, open up a sketch, and this under the rectangle tool, do the drop down, and we're going to grab a center rectangle. And to start that, we're going to click right here on the origin. And arbitrarily, so AutoCAD is different than SOLIDWORKS, or SOLIDWORKS is different than AutoCAD, because in AutoCAD, you have to enter the dimension before you place the tool, right? Like if we were going to draw a line, we'd click, type in the dimension, and then it would place the other side. In SOLIDWORKS, just kind of arbitrarily drop this wherever you want, then click Smart Dimension up here in the Sketch tab, and click once on the line, it'll grab that line, click again out here. And then it'll bring up asking you what dimension you want it to be. So we're going to say 3, enter. And again, we're doing 3 inches because we're IPS. And then you should still be in the dimension tool. Click here again, and this one's going to be 2.5. Just like that. Now we can go ahead and, before I exit this sketch, let me show you. So before we entered this dimension, actually before we entered any of these dimensions, we can see we have a blue rectangle. Once I add this 3-inch dimension, the top and bottom lines are black, which means those are fixed in space. I can't move them up or down. They're fixed in that dimension, in the top to bottom dimension. However, I can still move these other 2 lines. They're blue. That means they're not fully constrained. So I can do my smart dimension, grab just like this. That's going to be 2.5. And once I enter that dimension, now we have a fully defined, fully constrained rectangle, and it's black, which means if I click escape and get out of my tool there, my dimension tool, I can't grab and move this anywhere. It's very important. When you are using SolidWorks, before you create any sort of 3D shape from a sketch, you want to ensure that the sketch is fully defined. And to know that for a fact, it turns black. So now we're going to click Exit Sketch. And we can go to Features. Extruded Boss Base is the tool. And that's going to turn our 2D sketch into a 3D sketch. And this is going to be 1 inch. So this is a blind extrusion straight out towards you from the front plane. What we want to do is we want to keep our part as centered as we can in these planes. And this will become more clear as we move forward in the class. So for now, what we want to do is from this drop down, we're going to click mid plane. And that's going to keep the front plane centered in the part. Click the green check mark. And now we can see if I turn on these other 2 planes, we can see that that part is nice, centered in all of our planes. And that is important. Good drafting practices really is what that is. So now I'm going to turn the front plane off. We don't need to look at it anymore. And click on this face. So just like you can draw on a plane, you can also draw on a face. So I'm going to click this face, create a sketch. That'll bring us right to our sketch toolbar. And I'm going to grab a circle tool. And with that, I'm going to create a circle. Let's do 2 circles, arbitrary size. And what we can do is click on one, hold Control, and click on the other. So both of them are selected. And over here, we can create a relationship between these circles. And I want those circles to be equal. You can see now both of them are equal. So if I make one bigger, the other one gets bigger also. And with that, we can go Smart Dimension, click on our circle, and it's going to ask for a diameter. And we want the diameter of that circle to be 1 inch. And now both of them are 1 inch. Now grab our Smart Dimension tool again, click on the edge of the circle, click on one of the edges of the part. And actually, let's do this like it's shown in the PDF. So this circle is going to be 2.25 inches from the bottom of the part. Just like that. And it's going to be 1.75 inches from the side. This guy is going to be 0.75 from the bottom. And 0.75 from the side. It is nice to be clean with your dimensions. However, it's not as important in SolidWorks until you get to the actual drawing, because these aren't going to show up on the drawing. These are just These are inside your sketch to position your sketch. Now, if we kind of rotate around, I have a special mouse that allows me to rotate models in 3D. So you might not see me moving my mouse like this, but just know that if you want to rotate like this, just hold down the middle mouse wheel and you can manipulate the model. Or you can just click Control-7 and that will give you a nice isometric view. So from here, kind of turn it to the side and then click Features, Extrude. And now this time we don't need to do the midplane because that would just make it so that some of the material is actually being hidden into the part. So now we're going to go blind. And per our drawing, this is 0.375. And click the check mark. So now we can see those dimensions disappear. And now we have very close to a completed part. Now we have to add some fillets, which are just some radiuses on some of these hard angles here, or some of these hard edges. And then we have to make it hollow. We have to shell this out. So first thing, let's go ahead and, so you can create these fillets one at a time. I think it's definitely better drafting practice. And it also is just nicer for somebody else who might come into your model later. If you select all 4 of these edges, so just hold Control and then you can kind of click, and you can let go of Control, move the middle mouse wheel, hold Control again and click, and it won't deselect things. So select all 4 of those edges or corners, I guess, and then this face. Then we click Fillet. And now we can see it is going to create that nice little radius everywhere that we want it. So we selected this face. So any corner on this face, these edges here, and then where these little bumps meet the bottom, not the top. Remember, you don't want to select the top because that's going to fill at the top. And we can see from our drawing here, the top does not have a radius on it. So if you accidentally did, you can hold Control and click it again, and then it will deselect. Make sure your radius is 0.1 inch, and then click the green check mark. There we go. Click on the back of the part, and under your Features tab, click Shell. Make sure your parameters are 0.1 inch. That's just thickness that you want the wall, and there we go. Easy as that. Shells out the hole inside. You have a nice complementary radius to the 0.1 on the inside. You go ahead and click Control-7, gives you a nice isometric view. Control-S to save. And browse to your CAD 154 Lab 6 submissions folder, and you can go ahead and save that. Just like that. And since you're using the virtual machine, do not save these things inside the virtual machine. I would maybe have a thumb drive or email the part back to yourself. I know it's a pain, but there have been instances of students losing work when they save it to the desktop in the virtual drive. If there's some sort of a server reset, you will lose all your work. So you might not be able to save directly to your submissions folder. You may just save to the desktop or save to if you save to a USB, that's easy because then you can pull out the USB, plug it into your computer and save it there, or just keep it on the USB. If you don't have a USB, save it to the desktop and then email it to yourself. Some people have reported that they are able to drag and drop from the virtual machine into their normal machine, but that's not the case for everybody, apparently. Sometimes that doesn't work. So if it doesn't, email it to yourself or save it on a USB. Now, the part is done. We're going to click File, Make Drawing from Part. And I've already have this saved, but I'm going to create a new drawing. So I'm just going to show you how to do it. CAD 154 title block, click OK. Now it'll bring up this option here. We're gonna not click on. We're not gonna use that though right now. So just click over here. Now to add your drawing, click Drawing tab up here. See these options have now changed. Click Drawing and Model View. Then you can double click on that. And there we go. So now we have an isometric view. Click escape once before you do anything. Then click on the part, click on the view, and then under orientation, just click on front. And there we go. So now we need a side view and a top view. And to do that, click projected. Then you can click once up here and once off to the side, just like that. Try to kind of set it up where it is in the drawing. Let me bring this down just a little bit. And we're going to go ahead and change a few settings before we do it. Actually, before we do that, go ahead and click once on this main view. This is called the parent view. See how it's blue? The quote child views or the children views. Well, actually, so the parent view is pink. The children view are blue. You can see as we select those. So go ahead and click on the parent view and change the display style to hidden lines visible. So that will change it for all three views. If you clicked on one of these views, one of the children views, and you change that, so like maybe shaded, then it's only going to change it for one view. But we want to change it for all of those views. So just like that, so we're going to see the hidden lines. And from there, let's go ahead and click on this little cog up here for options. Document properties, dimensions, and let's actually come to, sorry about that. Let's come to the diameter setting. I have this guy right here, just like that. And then come to the linear setting. Linear is going to be broken leader aligned text. And your radius is going to be broken leader horizontal text, just like that. Click OK. Click annotation. This allows you to add notes and dimensions. I'm going to click my dimension tool and click on this line. Just kind of drag it up. You can click this little smart button. That's cool too. It actually works really well in SolidWorks. I'm going to click just like that, and we can click the right side, so you can position it out to the right or left. I'm going to click the right. From this to this. Oop. Off to the right. We want this tolerance to be 3 decimal places. And then we're also going to change this, go into leaders, custom text position. And this one is going to be this kind of center option. Just like that. Now we got a few more dimensions to add. So let's grab the outside circle, just like that. And then this, you can select any of these circles because we're just dimensioning to the middle and it'll automatically know that. Oop, incorrect. Top line, bottom line. We can just automatically place that. That's fine. And we're just going to go through and make sure it's dimensioned just like it's supposed to be per the example drawing. Now let's pull the, oops. Sometimes it's easy to accidentally click that button. If you do, just click on the dimension, click delete, and it'll go away. Now go back into your Smart Dimension tool if that happens. Just like that. I'm going to drag this out to the right just a little bit. Now you can double click, but what I'm going to do is just come down here to this dimension text and type in all caps, shell thickness. We can move that out a little bit farther. And the last two are going to be this radius. Type space TYP after that. And then this diameter here. Oop. Sometimes it'll kind of do that. So just click on this dimension and you can move this up. Click on this dimension. And then so this will give you options. These come up. Alternatively, you can just right click, display options, display as diameter, or you can just click this. Oops, I actually did the wrong thing. So we're going to dimension this guy right here. That is a diameter of 1 inch. And in the dimension text, return down one line, and we're going to type 2 places. And for these 2 dimensions, we can highlight both of them. And under leaders, click on this guy right here. And there we go. Easy enough. So your drawing is set up correctly. It's all done and ready to go. The only other thing you need to do is change, change this information here. And it's not going to let you do that. You can double click all you want. It's not going to work. So what you can do is right click anywhere on the sheet, edit sheet format. Your drawing, this is like the block editor in AutoCAD. So your drawing goes away until you exit this kind of quote block editor. From here, you can update this information. So for me, that, stretch it out so that it fits. Class is CAD 154, and the date is today. Last thing here. Lab 6 sheet 1. And now to get out of this, you just click on this little button right here, and this will take you out. If you're trying to plot and you're like, oh, I can't, like I used to forget all the time. Why, like, where's my drawing? But I'd still be in the edit sheet format kind of block editor. So if your drawing is just gone for no explanation, test if you can edit your text in your title block. If you can, you just got to click that little button up here, and then it'll bring you back. So this is it. Now we're going to save this as you won't have one in here yet, but I'm in my Lab 6 submissions folder. I'm going to save it just as the drawing title. And last but not least, we're going to plot it. And fortunately, unlike in AutoCAD, all you have to do is save it as a PDF, and it's going to save it perfectly the way that it's supposed to. None of that crazy setup that we had to do. So just go ahead and save it as a PDF. And there we go. There it is. So this is what you're going to submit to the Lab 6 Dropbox for sheet 1. I'll see you in the next video.